Joining us now is UW La Crosse political professor Joe Heim to put some of the night in perspective. It was a busy night for you last night here.
Oh, am I missing my cup of coffee?
Yeah, exactly. You got to stay awake. It's good to have you back, though. What kind of a difference is this really going to make in the last 2 years of the Obama's presidency?
Well, initially I thought it was going to make a major difference because he's always had a hard time getting things through the House of Representatives, and what's the Senate? It's just going to be a duplication of that. But then I started to think a little bit more. And for one thing is judicial nominations, I don't think are going to go anywhere. He's never going to get them through the Senate. Treaties, if he has any treaties, I have a problem getting them through the Senate. More importantly, though, I think budget issues. By the fact that the Senate and the House can agree on a budget, basically, they're going to be sending things to the president that are budget items. And you don't have to have 60 votes for these things. You can do it through something called sequestration. It's going to, and they, by the way, they stick on what is called riders. So you might have a defense budget that's got a rider having nothing to do with defense, and it forces a president to either veto the entire thing or to sign the entire thing and kind of swallow hard. So he's going to be faced with a number of those things. That's a technique they use in Congress and legislatures everywhere.
The last 6 years, we've seen Republicans use the filibuster a record number of times in Washington to block anything to go through the Senate. Are we going to see Democrats doing the same thing with the filibuster?
I think a little less, but I don't doubt at all that they're going to try it. I mean, they're going to, tit for tat, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So I expect them to do some of that to protect the president from at least having to do too many vetoes. But I suspect they're just not quite as organized as Republicans were and united behind things and using the veto, the ability to block through a 60-vote thing.
Republicans have to do well in the next 2 years to do well in the presidential election. Is that going to help move things along?
I think so. I would hope that they're not going to do another 4 years of just trying to block everything Obama proposes, because there's a lot of stuff in there that's very good for America, frankly. The infrastructure in a country begs for jobs and basically begs for repairs. And I would think both parties ought to be able to agree on some of that sort of stuff. So I would expect them, they would at least reach out. I expect them to at least initially give the impression that they want to work together. And ultimately, I think they want to look like they can govern. Republicans, if they continue to block things for 2 more years, they're not going to look like they can govern. And the public is going to pick up on this pretty quick. So I think they have to look, at least they want to get some things done so they can have some accomplishments, so they can have a chance at 2016.
One of the interesting things we'll take a look on is Wisconsin Senator Johnson is going to be appointed, it looks like, to the Homeland Security Committee, so it should be interesting to see what he does. I want to go local quickly. There hasn't been any power changes here, but are we going to see a different administration, Walker administration, moving forward?
He's got the same problem in a sense at the national level Republicans have. If he thinks of running for the presidency in 2 years, he has to be fairly careful about being overly liberal or overly conservative. So he's going to have to do certain things that are going to make him look like he's a reasonably conservative person for the primaries. But frankly, he doesn't want to go too far in that direction. If he does stuff that's even more controversial than he did the first 4 years, I would expect that would damage his ability to run for the presidency. So I think he's got to be a little bit more conciliatory. Plus, frankly, the Republicans passed a lot of stuff the last 4 years. So their agenda is not as radical, not as extreme as perhaps it looked like it was, 4 years ago.
We're out of time, but Joe, thanks for the knowledge.
Hey, my pleasure.
Lisa?